Gameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our ACC Game of the Week preview between the Miami Hurricanes and the Florida State Seminoles. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Canes.
The resurgent Hurricanes find themselves undefeated, and it's because of their old school approach. Play good defense, run the football, and be efficient in the passing game. And it's the latter two, in my opinion, that are vital for the Hurricanes to have success. Running back Duke Johnson, who's electrifying and is an underrated inside runner, along with quarterback Stephen Morris, who is still prone to making the bad throw. Both guys, in my opinion, will have to bring their A game versus the Seminoles, because we know their heavy and talented offensive line definitely will. And in my opinion, defensively, the Hurricanes are similar to the Noles in the fact that they play great team defense. You'll see 11 guys to the football, led by punishing linebacker Denzel Perriman. This week, the focus will be on containing red-hot redshirt freshman quarterback Jameis Winston by getting creative on the back end, switching up coverages in an attempt to get him to hold onto the football just a little bit long, so that way you can get back there and put him on the ground. Now let's move over to Florida State in this ball game, and while quarterback Jameis Winston gets a lot of the focus, a lot of the credit has to go to the skill players of the Seminoles, guys like Rashard Green, Calvin Benjamin, Kenny Shaw, and tight end Nick O'Leary. They've been playing all conference level football so far this season. Now this week versus Miami, I look at the tailbacks and blitz pickup being the key. I believe the Hurricanes will try to flush or rush Winston into quick decisions, so blitz pickup will be important. Now defensively, Miami will attempt to spread out the Noles and keep them in nickel defense and try to run the football, which is why it's important for every player at every level of this defense to win those individual matchups. I would also keep it multiple from a front perspective to try to confuse the Hurricanes' offensive line in an attempt to screw up blocking assignments. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Miami, quarterback Stephen Morris has to be precise in the passing game. We know they can run the football, and all they ask Morris to do is to take those timely shots deep down the field and to be accurate in the passing game. If he can do that, Miami will definitely win this ball game. And I would also send delayed pressure versus the young quarterback in Jameis Winston in an attempt to catch him by surprise to either get a sack or a turnover. And I would also play the numbers game in the box, spread the field, and count the guys in the box. If they're favorable, then you want to run the football downhill versus the Seminoles. And for Florida State in this ball game, defensively, you have to maintain the line of scrimmage and disengage and make the play. It's important when you are up front, you win those individual matchups in order to stop the Hurricanes' running game. And on offense, I will put Calvin Benjamin, who's 6'5", 235 pounds, on the inside, giving Jameis Winston an easy, recognizable, built-in hot read for every play when Miami sends the pressure. And the attempts in the running game are more important this week than the outcome. You have to be able to run the football, so that way Winston can operate off play action a lot easier this week versus Miami. Now here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game. For Miami, 4 guys stand out to me the most, led by Denzel Perriman, the outstanding linebacker, 6 feet, 236 pounds. He's a junior, as well as Anthony Chickalo, the defensive end, 6'4", 265. On that offensive line, Central Henderson, who's now a backup but still very talented, 6'8", 346. And quarterback Stephen Morris, if he can put together consistently good games, consistent efforts week in, week out, he can find himself elevating his status at the end of the season. And for Florida State, there's a boatload of prospects on both sides of the ball. Now, the running backs are off this list, but they're definitely guys you want to keep an eye on. Every last running back they have on that roster is very talented, but this is a unit that is led by, or this is a football team, in my opinion, that is led by their outstanding defensive back, LaMarcus Joyner, who can play corner or safety. But overall, there's a lot of great prospects in this ball game. The X factor for the Hurricanes will be their cornerbacks. Not only do they have to win those individual matchups versus the talented receiving core of Florida State, but they also have to communicate when they pass guys off in zone coverage, like Ladarius Gunter, Tracy Howard. And in the slot, you look at Audie Burns and Antonio Crawford. Those guys definitely have to bring their A game this week versus the Seminoles. The X factor for Florida State will be the linebackers in the running game. They're going to have to stop Miami at the line of scrimmage, because Miami can lean on any defensive line and run downhill with Duke Johnson. And they also have to make sure they bring him to the ground, because he's a guy, if he slips a tackle, he has the speed to take the distance. The Bermuda Triangle consisted of Jesse Armstead, Michael Barrow, and Darren Smith. All 3 guys played together from 1989 to 1991, and they terrorized opposing offenses to the tune of 2 national titles, and all 3 guys made at least 1 All-American team. Before he was Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds was a talented running back for Florida State from 1954 to 1957 and is also inducted in the school's Hall of Fame. I like the Seminoles in this ballgame. A well-balanced offense. They can run the football just like Miami can, but they can also throw it with much more effectiveness. So I like the Seminoles offense more than I do the Hurricanes offense. And on defense, this is quite possibly the best defense in the country. So I like the Seminoles to win this ballgame at home.